Welcome back to Franco Fridays. Finished the film as part of the B-movie Drive-In Challenge, and that was 1977's Sexy Sisters. I'll try to show you the cover here. This is two naked women, but there it is. This is a full moon release. This is another Erwin Dietrich production, and in this one, you've got Pam Stanford, who is in Lorna the Exorcist, who plays a countess, and she and her sister live in his house. Her sister Millie, who's played by Catherine Gambier, the sister is traumatized essentially, but turns out that the countess has been keeping her sister chained up in her bed with some golden shackles. And the reasons for that are unveiled in the plot, which is what is the lowest common denominator? Human nature, money. There's an inheritance at stake, and Millie, if she's deemed incompetent, then the countess would rise up into the food chain as far as getting the inheritance. So the countess, who has a sexual deviation issue, and Millie, who's actually a nymphomaniac as well, through a series of sexual escapades, basically is attempting to try to torture and make Millie insane. You've got our old buddy Jack Taylor in this as well. He plays a doctor, and he's got his normal Euro deadpan look about him. The film really is kind of a softcore porn film. I mean, it's a lot of simulated sex, full nudity, that type of thing. But it's a lot more than that. It's got outstanding. Walter Baumgartner. He really does not get near the praise that he should, because not only was he producing great music for this film, some eclectic jazz fusion, fascinating music in this film. He also was the cinematographer, and he did an outstanding job. He really did. You don't have to worry about some of the things that I think irritate people that watch Franco films in terms of the zoom issue and out of focus. There's none of that. It's just a well done cinematography is fantastic. The sets are fun and excellent. The location, I guess it was probably shot in Spain, is my guess, or in Portugal. But it's a beautiful location, and it's an excellent film. It's surprising. The softcore or simulated porn stuff's not really my bag, but this was good, and the women are beautiful, and it's not done in a tasteless fashion, in my opinion. It's done in a very tasteful way, even in terms of the proceedings, which is basically a series of events to try to get Millie to be as crazy and as sane as possible, so that she can be deemed incompetent or committed, and then the inheritance would inevitably go to the countess. So you have really what you got is a multifaceted film. I mean, on the surface, maybe it can be called softcore porn, but I think of it more as a dramatic horror movie, or even aspects of it of the Women in Chains type genre. It really crosses, in my opinion, a number of different subgenres, and I think it's done very well. It's shot very well. The story, there is a plot. It's a very good plot. There's a twist ending, somewhat of a twist ending. Basically human nature, greed. Whenever greed takes over, inevitably Murphy's Law would indicate that the greedy person ultimately will get their comeuppance. And so, those type of twist endings are typical in this film. I think he did a really good job of laying out the plot. And, Millie, who was really traumatized at childhood, and there's an instance, a very uncomfortable film in terms of child sex type things. I mean, what's happened here is Millie actually watched her sister have sex and then was raped, essentially, and so that turns a very problematic storyline into something very uncomfortable, quite honestly. But it's not done in a tasteless fashion. It's done to the extent something like that can be covered, the material covered. It was done in a tasteful fashion. So I really liked the film. I don't know that it's one of Franco's best films, but it was a solid workmanlike effort, and I definitely recommend it. I think there's a German Blu-ray that's available on this film. Otherwise, this DVD full moon release is fine. I mean, it looks great. Picture quality is great. And again, I think the music and the cinematography carry the film. And Mr. Baumgartner needs to get a lot more kudos for his contribution to Franco's films than he has in the past, in my opinion. So, yeah. Interestingly enough, the blonde in this that played Millie was in a number of sex films. Apparently, I think she even went on to do hardcore porn, like in the 80s, based on the titles of the work. But she's got a lengthy career in kind of the softcore and hardcore porn movies. Born in France. And then Pam Stanford, she's an interesting character. She is a very beautiful, exotic woman, but she also makes you really feel uncomfortable. There's a look about her; it's just kind of creepy, and Franco uses that to great effect because, as it turns out, she's basically torturing and humiliating her sister, both mentally and physically. It's all kinds of forms of abuse there. So yeah, I mean, she was perfectly cast for the role, I think. But this is probably one of Franco's more compelling efforts in the softcore porn subgenre, if you will, and so I would highly recommend it. All right, well, that will wrap up my review of Sexy Sisters or Satanic Sisters, and hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate you watching.